Hi guys. This is just a quick video covering some of the major feedback for the argument paper, so that you guys can go ahead and get started on your rewrites. Your rewrites will be due Wednesday at midnight, and some of you guys have a lot of work to do. So I'm going to go really quickly through a lot of the main stuff to look at, and then I'll go through some due dates as well. There's two ways that people ended up losing a lot of points on this paper. First of all, one that came up a lot was people had different sources in their paper than they did in their works cited page. Anytime you have a source in your works cited page, it also needs to appear down in your paper. If you have a last name in parentheses or a title or something like that in the actual text of your paper, but it's not in your works cited page, that's an issue and you need to fix that. What you need to do if you did that was go back and just make citations for all of those sources. This happens a lot where people find their sources, they realize at the last minute they're not useful, and then they find other sources. Whatever sources you use need to be in the works cited page. The other way that people lost a lot of points was by messing up the parameters of the paper. This paper is an argument paper. It needs to make some kind of an argument. Your thesis statement needs to state really clearly what that argument is, and then you need topic sentences for all your paragraphs that support that thesis. You need to have at least 1,000 words in this paper. You need to have at least 3 supporting body paragraphs, a counter-argument paragraph, an intro and a conclusion, and a works cited page. If you are missing any of those things, if you didn't have 1,000 words, you probably lost quite a lot of points as a result of that. So you have until Wednesday to go back and complete whatever parts you were missing. Make sure that all of that is there. So those are the main ways that people were losing points. If you made one of these mistakes, you probably already know that you did it. Just go back and fix it by Wednesday. So next thing was wrong works cited citations. This comes up whenever people start making citations in citation machines like the one that we used on Google, where they'll use the wrong format, they'll use the wrong style, or they'll miss certain things that they need to put in. What you need to do, if I pointed out that being a problem, is go back and rewrite your citations that had those issues. Sometimes if you put your hyperlink into Google and you try to generate it by itself and it doesn't have all of the information, it will generate it and put wrong stuff. It'll say that the title is just the letter V, and it'll say that the website is YouTube even though it's not. Check all of those things in each of your citations, because I'm going to check them. So if that was a problem, go back and make sure to fix those. There was a lot of confusion on how to deal with articles that don't have an author. And they're very simple. You just don't put anything for the author. You don't have to put the publisher as the author. You don't put the journal or the website that it came from as the author. You just leave that part blank, and then your citation will start with whatever the title is. In the in-text citation, it should look like this, where you have a short version of the title instead of the author's name. Just short version of the title in quotes, since we're using articles, and in parentheses. But yeah, very simple. You don't have to add a bunch of extra stuff. This is some smaller things to work on. Whenever you have an article that is going to be used a lot, it's got a lot of information in it, you're using a specialist as the writer of your article, you're using somebody who knows about their field a lot, or you're using a journal that is specifically from that field, make sure that you point that out when you're setting up that article. You don't just want to jump into your evidence and have a quote that comes out of nowhere. You don't just want to say, Bill Jones says. You want to tell us who Bill Jones is. What's Bill Jones' degree in? How long has Bill Jones worked in that field? Give us all of that information. You'll take up more space in your paper, but you will also make your paper better because you'll be showing why this person has credibility to talk about this. Why does this journal have credibility to speak on this issue? Going along with that, make sure to set up any evidence that you use that could seem like it's out of context, that doesn't necessarily fit seamlessly into your paper. If you're saying something like, statistics show that children are more likely to be angry when you take their tablet away, and then you have a quote right after that that says 29% of kids were angry when you took their tablet away, that's fine. But if you say, having too much screen time causes kids to be aggressive, and then you just suddenly jump into that quote without any setup, then it will seem out of place. If you have a quote that's taking place in the middle of some kind of story, like somebody wrote about a guy having an episode on drugs, and the paragraph was about how drugs can cause you to have an episode, and then it jumps right into the middle of the story. Tell us who that guy is, tell us what the situation was, and then jump into the story so that we have that context. Again, it'll take up more space, and it'll make your paper better. Argumentative thesis statements. People always have a lot of trouble with thesis statements. Your thesis statement is just going to say what you're arguing for and why. Kids shouldn't have more than an hour of screen time because it makes them difficult to teach. It makes them have bad sleeping habits, and it makes them gain weight or whatever. But all of that needs to be your thesis statement. You need a statement like that at the end of your introduction. If you didn't have a statement like that, I pointed that out and told you to fix it. And then each of those points that you mentioned in your thesis need to be your topic sentences in your supporting paragraphs. The first sentence in your supporting paragraphs each needs to be a sentence that connects it back to your thesis and says, one reason kids shouldn't have so much screen time is because it makes them have health problems. And then you go into what those health problems are. You have evidence for those health problems or whatever. But all your supporting points need to show up in your thesis statement. Counter-arguments were one that people had a lot of trouble with. We had a lot of counter-arguments where people had the opposing viewpoint and some opposing evidence, but they didn't actually show their own side. And so for counter-arguments, you need to show your opponent's point of view, and then you need to show why they're wrong. People who say screen time is good would say that it helps keep their kids distracted so they can get a break. Then you'd show some evidence that shows people saying that who are parenting experts. And then you have to counter that, and you have to say, actually, it makes your kids crazier when they have too much screen time and more difficult to parent, and it leads to more difficulty on your side. And then show some quotes or evidence to go with that. This requires a lot more creativity than the regular paragraphs because you have to find evidence that goes together, and that's really difficult to do sometimes. But you can probably just Google what the opposing point is and ask Google why it's wrong, and they'll find an article for you. Make sure your paragraphs are about one thing. They need to be just supporting whatever your argument is. And they need to be supporting whatever that point is. They shouldn't bounce all over the place. They shouldn't be about all your arguments at once. They shouldn't start off being about one thing and then turn into being about something else. They need to be about one thing. And then finally, quotes versus italics. This is about titles. And I want to get to this before you guys go off to other classes and it becomes a thing that you have to do. We mostly used articles in here. And anytime you have an article from a magazine, it's going to be in quotes. Because an article is a small part of a larger work. Anytime you have a smaller part of a larger work, that is going to be in quotes. So a poem, a short story, a chapter from a book, a song on an album, a article from a newspaper or a website, all of those would be in quotes. If you are citing the book that has the poems in it, a newspaper or a website, album that has music on it, all of those would be in italics. So the larger works are in italics, smaller works are in quotes. Okay, so clear as mud. I hope that all made sense. If you have any questions about how to do any of this stuff, message me. I'll be checking in on Blackboard all weekend and on my email. Final drafts for this paper will be due Wednesday at midnight. I'm going to grade them all Thursday. So if you needed to make up some major stuff, make sure you do that by Wednesday. Late work also will be due by Wednesday at midnight. Any late other assignments that you have, I will not accept them after Wednesday. Because I have to grade everything on Thursday. It's going to take me all day, and grades are due that night. So, yeah. If you have any late work due, you need to work on it this weekend and get it done. Alright guys, good luck on your rewrites, and I'll see you guys either Monday or Tuesday whenever our class meets next. Have a good weekend.